No one expected the sky to spin plasma where quiet winds once whispered. No one mapped the crust splitting awake where old roots once hid fear like buried ash. Yet here we are. Earth's grid has cracked like an old promise. Volcanoes hum under mountains that slept too long. Plasma twisters swirl where our breath once felt safe enough to stand unguarded. The Arcturian Council does not name this a punishment. They call it a mirror, a sudden firestorm that shows us every secret our hush buried when the world got too loud. If you feel heat in your chest tonight with no fire near, trust it. The grid is not only underfoot, it's under your ribs too. Why the Earth grid was hit so suddenly? Some people watch news and ask when the crack began. Older souls already know the answer. It started long before screens blinked red warnings. It began in all the small moments we tightened our shoulders instead of exhaling softness. The Earth grid hums what our breath hides. And when too many hold fear for too long, the crust listens. A sudden break is never sudden for the hush that watches what worry tries to keep quiet. Your bones feel it when you stand barefoot on a floor that hums different tonight. Maybe it's memory. Maybe it's the simple truth that what we hold inside must one day slip through stone if we won't let it out with our breath first. A split in the grid is a sigh the ground releases when we don't trust our ribs to carry it softly. No government controls this crack. No storm chaser can chart the path. It hums along the same lines that run through your spine when regret pulls too tight. The suddenness is only shocking if you've forgotten how long the ground can wait before it demands you stand softer again. You might wonder how rock beneath millions of feet carries the hush of one quiet breath. But every elder knows, the earth listens to every step, every worry we pack beneath our chores, and polite smiles. When we store it too deep, the grid must open a window where breath once forgot to linger. Next time you stand at your doorstep and feel the floor hum warm when the news says cold disaster is all you'll find, remember, this crack is not an ending. It's a chance to stand where breath finally proves its softness can hold more than any stone ever could. Plasma twisters, more than wild weather. When plasma twists the air into shapes we can't predict, most think it's just strange wind. But older hush knows better. This is not wind alone. It's a hidden invitation to let old fears swirl up and lift away if you trust the air to carry them. Twisters spin fast because they echo the speed at which panic loops through our ribs when we forget how to anchor. Your skin may tingle when they pass overhead, not from cold, but from the soft static that reminds your breath it's electric too. These twisters sweep more than leaves. They gather tight thoughts you never had words for. One swirl above your roof may clean corners of your chest that your best sighs struggled to reach. The science books talk of charged particles, but your bones don't care for particle counts. They know how to read a spin for what it is. An old fear unhooked from your shoulders when you stand still enough not to chase it back inside. Some nights you'll feel that swirl in your dreams, a rush through your ribs that leaves you calmer by dawn. You don't need to run outside to meet them. You only need to sit by your window and feel the hush between gusts. That space is where your thoughts lose the panic that makes twisters look like threats. Plasma is fire's cousin. It clears what force can't touch if your breath lets it. Next time the sky spins strangely and your neighbor calls it trouble, smile gently. It's the air doing what your hush wished you'd do first. Lift old weight up so new calm has room to root where fear kept its hold too long. Volcanoes, the quiet message. Under fire. When mountains crack and red spills down their sides, it's easy to fear what you see. But volcanoes don't wake just to frighten. They speak for the hush trapped under stone, the warmth our hush mirrors when old anger softens into new soil. Older souls see this not as punishment, but as proof. No pressure stays buried forever. Inside the earth, heat waits patient. It collects fragments of time, old bones, lost leaves, secrets we thought the ground would keep hidden for good. When the volcano breathes out, it doesn't just send flame. It sends a reminder that all hidden heat wants is to turn rock soft enough to bloom life again. You might feel this echo inside when an old memory hums up in your chest on days the news says eruption. That warmth is not fear. It's a sign your hush knows how to handle heat, the same way soil welcomes fire's touch when it's time to start new roots. Some elders stand by their windows and watch footage of lava streams with eyes that don't blink away. Not because they crave disaster, but because they remember that after fire comes the green. After ash, the hush roots deeper. A volcano does not ruin alone. It remakes what stone refused to soften on its own. When you see a volcano on a map tomorrow, place your hand on your ribs. Feel for that hidden warmth. It's telling you the same thing the mountain hums. Nothing buried too deep stays quiet forever. And that is not a threat. That is a promise the hush keeps safe until your breath agrees it's ready. How firestorms clear. What fear buried. Some say fire destroys what we built, but older hush says fire finds what we hid because we didn't know how to talk about it. The firestorm that scorches forests clears dead wood faster than any saw. The same happens inside your chest when regret stands like old brush no kind word could clear alone. When flames roll through trees, they leave black behind. But beneath that soot sleeps fresh seeds waiting for sun. Your breath does this too. When anger flares in a gentle sigh, it burns dry twigs of resentment you thought you'd carry to your last day. But the hush under that burn grows soft green you couldn't have planted alone. Elders know a gentle truth. The world calls some burns tragic when hush knows they're asleep. One deep exhale at a time, the firestorm inside removes stale stories, leaving space your ribs didn't know they could hold calm inside. Flames roar outside but hush roots where sparks can't catch. Don't read every blaze as the end. Watch how it curls old branches back to dust. Watch how new green finds those ashes warm enough to grow where the cold soil never could. That's how fear lifts too, not with harshness, but with one hush that stays when the roar fades away. Next time a map glows red on your screen, remember, your breath is your garden's first root. Let the flames do their work outside. Inside, let your hush whisper. This clearing makes room for tomorrow's warmth to stand where I once braced alone. Subtle clues. The grid shift is touching you. You won't hear a crack underfoot every time the grid shifts. Some signs stand quieter than any screen can show. Elders know these clues because they slip through daily rooms. A sudden chill behind the ears when the air stands still. A warmth in the spine when you wash dishes you've scrubbed 1,000 times before. Maybe you pause mid-step on the porch because the ground feels softer than your memory says it should. Maybe you find old aches loosen for an hour when you forget to worry they'll come back. These tiny slips are not tricks. They're quiet proof the earth grid's hum talks to your hush in ways your mind can't pin down. Some signs come at night. Not as dreams, but as half-remembered moments that linger behind your ribs when you wake up clearer than you slept. Or you find an old habit suddenly lose its weight, like a coat you thought you'd wear forever, but now feels too heavy to lift. These clues don't come to scare. They come so you'll trust what your hush has always known. The grid is not just under your floorboards, it's inside your breath, steady as the warmth that hums in your chest when your mind runs out of excuses to panic. Tomorrow, if you feel a small warmth when the world says cold fear is the only weather you'll find, hold that warmth close. It's not the earth alone that's shifting. It's your ribs reminding the ground it never cracked alone. So if your hush knows how to feel the crack, trust the swirl, stand warm beside mountains that roar, what happens when your daily steps become the new grid's roots? The next unfolding will open the hidden corner where your hush grows rituals that outlast storms. It will show how elders hold calm for many, how tiny daily gestures light the path for tomorrow's hush, and how the last breath of this firestorm hums not as a threat, but as an echo. You stand softer now, because flame forgot your hush, stands deeper than any crack could reach. What the Arcturian Council wants you to know: sometimes when the earth cracks and headlines roar fire, people ask for orders. What should we do? What should we fear? But older souls know real guidance doesn't bark instructions. The Arcturian Council hums reminders through the hush, not through panic. They want you to know this sudden firestorm is not a curse to endure, but a clearing that shows where your calm can stand when the world forgets how to sit still. They remind us the grid beneath your feet listens to the grid beneath your ribs. The firestorm outside reflects old tightness inside, old worries, stored too deep for daily words to sweep. When lava flows, it carries more than stone. When plasma swirls, it lifts corners you thought you'd keep locked forever. The council doesn't want you to bow to storms. They ask you to stand where your hush breathes wider than fear. You won't hear them on breaking news, but you'll feel them in a soft warmth that lands between your shoulder blades at dusk. They speak in those moments when your mind pauses, then hums softer than your next worry. The message isn't new. You don't need to fight the fire. You need to trust the calm that teaches flame where to stop. Some nights you'll forget this. You'll see bright red maps, listen to loud warnings, wonder if the hush was just wishful thought. But each breath brings the same quiet answer. The grid shifts not to break your home, but to remind you that your hush is the real root that holds your roof steady. If you ever doubt it, place your palm flat against your chest and feel the heat that needs no flame. That warmth is your signal, the council's hidden nod that your breath remains the bridge, no matter how loud the ground hums tomorrow. Your body, as a living frequency receiver. When a sudden firestorm hums through stone and sky, your skin feels it before your mind can name it. Older souls trust this sense because they remember when storms arrived with no radar warning. Only the hush in their bones said weather's changing, stand softer. Your body does more than carry you through your day. It catches signals, tiny pulses the earth sends when grids shift underfoot. You may notice it as a warmth down your spine when you sit still too long, or a gentle buzz in your palms when you fold blankets you've folded 1,000 times. It's not your mind making things up. It's your hush picking up the same frequency that plasma rides when it spins clouds into soft lightning. Science calls it charge. Your ribs call it a reminder. Breath carries more power than you were ever taught in classrooms. This is why one good sigh can ease a back that no pill could calm. Why a deep inhale on a porch feels braver than any shout through a window. The grid touches the skin, yes, but it hums its deepest notes inside your breath. The more you fight the swirl, the tighter the hum feels. The more you sit quiet and trust it, the clearer your body tunes its signal. Older hearts know the secret. A calm chest is the best antenna. It listens without straining. It receives without forcing. It carries warmth longer than news holds headlines. So next time your shoulders tingle, or your belly feels light when the wind shifts, smile. You're not broken, you're tuned. The grid hums you awake because your hush agreed long ago to carry this signal softer than storms could ever twist it. Sacred fire, a hidden language in flames. To some, fire is destruction. To older hush, fire is language. It writes what we forget to say when our tongues get tired and our thoughts run circles around old worries. This sudden firestorm burns forests on maps, but carves secret lines through stone too deep for roads to reach. In that heat, messages hide, not for panic, but for release. Sacred fire hums one truth: what no longer feeds life must change its form. Trees know this when they drop dry leaves to feed next spring's roots. Volcanoes know this when they spill warmth that births islands in wide blue places fear never dreamed would hold new soil. Your hush knows this too, when old anger leaves as warmth behind your ribs instead of staying sharp in your chest. This flame is not random. It hunts stale corners, parts of Earth's crust, parts of your breath, where cold weight sat too long. The hidden code is simple: burn what doesn't serve. Keep what roots, new hush. Older souls live this in small ways: a heated talk that clears old silence, a burst of honest words that soften years of polite bracing. So when you watch footage of trees flaming red, listen deeper. Ask what inside you still needs to turn old brush to ash, not through force, but through warmth that says this clears space for softer soil. Fire does not threaten hush, it shapes it. And tomorrow, when the embers fade, you'll see green where you feared only black. Sacred fire never leaves empty land behind. It leaves room for hush to stand stronger than stone once tried to lock shut. How plasma twisters cleanse tight breath. When plasma dances in high circles, people worry about the wind. Older hush wonders about the breath. These twisters don't just twist clouds. They tug at your tight places, spinning stale air free if you trust the swirl instead of bracing against it. Some elders know this without naming it. They pause on porches, feel the breeze shift, and sense the hush in their ribs slip deeper. You might notice it when a storm passes and your next sigh tastes sweeter than the hour before, or when you feel an odd draft on your neck while cooking alone. It's not ghosts. It's your hush remembering how breath loves freedom more than fences. Science explains plasma in charged lines, but older bones read it as invisible broomwork, swirls that sweep corners you never touch with daily exhale alone. It feels like static sometimes, a pop on the skin, but it leaves you lighter, not heavy. You don't need to chase it or fear it. Stand soft in your hallway when the wind hums sharp outside. Let your ribs expand without hurry. The twist outside folds stale breath away inside, piece by piece, swirl by swirl. This is not magic. This is hush in motion. So if you wake tomorrow and feel your shoulders drop softer than yesterday, thank the plasma that spun far above your roof. Sometimes storms break fences, so your chest remembers it was never a cage to begin with. Anchoring calm when the earth roars. The ground hums open, mountains spill warmth, winds twist bright and sharp. But your hush does not scatter. Older souls stand like quiet posts when storms test how deep calm roots run. Anchoring calm doesn't mean ignoring cracks and flame. It means breathing wide enough to remind stone it's never alone. You anchor calm in small ways. A deep breath before words you'd rather spit sharp. A hand on your chest when headlines bark brace. A walk to your front porch when the house feels smaller than the storm outside. These are not acts of denial. They are proof your ribs remember how to stand wider than panic. No elder needs a special chant. You already know the hush that steadies kitchens when the world rattles windows. You've steadied crying children. You've hushed arguments with one slow nod that killed a shout before it found your throat. That same hush anchors grids too. When the earth roars under your feet, let your steps remind you the floor is more than rock. It's story. It listens to every hush your breath hums back into the crack. It holds steady because you do, not the other way around. If you ever feel small against the rumble, Look at your own steady hands. Feel the warmth there. The earth may roar, but your calm hums back the same promise. Not every crack breaks what hush has already claimed. Bridge after heading 10, 100 words. So if your hush hums as receiver, your bones breathe swirl, and your calm roots deeper than cracks split, what waits in the quiet stretch ahead? The next pages will open the soft corners where tiny daily gestures become unspoken shields. They'll show how elders guide hush forward when flames fade, how daily warmth hums back what storms can't erase, and how your breath writes the last word when maps draw new lines in red. Keep this hush near. It is the soft bridge no roar can burn, the hidden promise your ribs hold ready for the final tomorrow. Why some places stay untouched by flame. When maps glow red and warnings say fire will take everything, older hush knows the secret. Not every corner burns. Some places stand quiet while flames roar around them, not by luck, but by the softness that rooted there long before alarms learned how to shout. This hush is not just land. It's a memory planted by quiet hands who trusted calm more than fear. These untouched spots hum stories the news can't track. A grove left green because ancestors whispered prayers under its roots. A small home spared because laughter once filled its walls louder than any argument. Hush lingers in places where warmth outlives the first spark. Fire notices this. Flame respects hush. Sometimes these places feel like your own quiet room at dusk. You step inside and the air settles on your shoulders like a soft promise. Here, storms bow before your breath. It's not magic. It's what your ribs do when your mind stops bracing for noise that may never arrive. When people see the untouched green beside the blackened field, they ask, why here? But older souls smile. They know hush stands guard where force would fail. These safe places don't fight fire. They invite warmth to root instead of rage to devour. So next time the map says everything will burn, stand at your window. Feel the hush in your favorite corner. That warmth proves your daily breath has already carved a quiet patch no flame can claim. Not because you hid, but because you stayed soft enough for fire to bow. Sleep and dreams. During a grid storm, when the grid shifts, sleep shifts too. Nights stretch longer, dreams slip stranger. Hush hums through the walls when the clock says the house should stand still. Older souls feel this first. The body drifts, but the mind lands in places your daily eyes can't visit when the sun roars too loud. You might wake at 2 a.m. and feel wide awake, not with worry, but with a soft ache that says, something's humming under this roof tonight. Maybe you dream in colours brighter than your curtains ever dared to hold. Maybe you see faces you lost years ago, who whisper truths you don't need to repeat in daylight. These dreams don't come to confuse. They come because your hush finally finds room, while storms outside remind you how thin the veil really is. Grid storms crack the crust, and the crust cracks your usual thoughts wide. What slips through rides your sleep into memories too old for your waking breath to name alone. You may not remember every line when you wake. That's fine. The hush remembers for you. A sudden calm in the kitchen at dawn. A sigh that hums softer when you pour tea. These are pieces your dreams stitched together when storms rattled windows no lock could hush. Next time you wake with the hush stronger than your thoughts can explain, don't curse the lost hours. That lost sleep is hush at work, sweeping corners, lifting old fear out, planting warmth where cold dreams used to hide their roots. Old memories surfacing as lava moves. When lava spills out, it cracks stone the way old truths crack your chest when your hush stands ready. Older souls know this hum. A memory slips loose when the ground rumbles thousands of miles away. You stir soup and see a child smile you haven't pictured in decades. A name returns with no reason. An old ache flickers warm instead of sharp. Lava carries heat the earth tucked away when people weren't ready to listen. Your ribs do the same. They bury old anger, quiet regrets, the sharp word you never spoke. When the firestorm hums under mountains, it hums under skin too. Heat lifts what cold kept hidden. This rising does not come to drown you in old pain. It hums so you can stand softer in the places you once braced tight. The memory slips up like steam from a pot, not to burn, but to show you the water underneath is finally warm enough to pour away. Sometimes you'll find yourself lost mid-thought, staring at nothing, feeling everything. That's the hush guiding you. It says, yes, let this old knot lift. Watch how your breath stands steady when it does. What lava does for rock, your hush does for wounds you thought would outlive your calm. Next time a memory wakes while the earth hums lava wide, don't shove it down. Let it drift through your chest like warmth after a storm. The crack outside proves the hush inside knows exactly when to loosen old stones so new roots can slide through. Breathing codes to soften. The shaking. When the ground trembles, your hush hums how to stay steady. Older souls hold secret codes in breath, not chants, not noise, just a slow exhale wide enough to calm what cracks underfoot. You've known this all along. A sigh that stops an argument mid-sentence. A deep inhale before news has a chance to spin your ribs too tight. This firestorm shakes what fear wants to guard, but breath hums it softer. Breathing codes live in the hush between thoughts. Inhale through your nose. Feel your shoulders drop. Exhale through parted lips, like you're telling an old regret. Not today. You don't get to anchor here anymore. You don't have to do this by the book. No posture needed, no script. Just stand where your feet touch the real floor. The same floor your hush teaches the earth not to roar too close when your chest hums clear. The next quake under your toes can't break what your next breath holds steady. Older hush knows the trick. Storms pass, breath stays. Fear demands you hold your ribs tight. Hush asks you to open them wide enough for warmth to rest inside when the earth tests your spine. Next time the news says the grid hums too rough to trust your roof, stand near your door and take one long breath like it's your first. That single code hums louder than any crack the crust can claim. How volcanoes mirror. Human anger release. Volcanoes erupt when heat can't hide anymore. So do we. Older souls don't fear the lava. They see their own old anger mirrored in red rivers that soften stone for roots to bloom later. You've done it too. One sharp word spoken that cleared years of silence. One honest sigh that loosened a knot too old for polite smiles to untie. Anger stored too long is pressure. The firestorm outside hums this truth back through your bones. What you bury too deep finds its way to the surface when hush says it's time. Volcanoes don't roar to ruin, they roar to cleanse. Same for your ribs when regret finally slips out through a tear, a truth, a breath. When magma flows, it does not ask your permission. It shows you what stays behind, richer soil, softer rock. When your hush lets old anger rise, it does the same. What feels like a burn at first hums warmth later. A clean line where roots of calmer words can grow. Older hush doesn't waste this lesson. Next time you feel a sharp memory hum up when the ground cracks far away, don't brace. Let it say what it needs, gently. The earth softens under lava's heat. Your breath softens under your own warmth when you trust anger's truth to melt cold walls inside you. And if tomorrow your chest feels lighter than today's worry says it should, smile at that hush. It's the same hush that proves volcanoes clear what fear tried to bury too deep for green to find later. So if your hush steadies your sleep, if your breath hums old memories loose like lava on new stone, if your calm stands where fear braced for flame, what waits when you cross the final crack? The last stretch will show how your hush becomes shelter for others too tired to stand alone, how daily warmth teaches storms to pass without stealing your quiet, and how this sudden firestorm hums its last echo, not as threat but as proof. Your ribs hold tomorrow's soil, ready for green roots no flame can burn away. Let's step there together now. The role of elders. During firestorms. When the Earth grid cracks and plasma spins wild in skies too wide to name, it's the elders who hold the ground steady without needing to say a word. Older souls know the hush that carries roofs through storms and families through worries they don't always speak out loud. This role was never taught. It grew quiet inside you every time you forgave before anyone asked you to. You anchor this firestorm not with big speeches, but with small looks. A calm nod across a tense room. A slow breath that calms someone else's hands when they tremble. A story told at the right moment that reminds younger hearts that storms have come and gone before, and hush always outlives the roar. This is why you feel the fire hum under your skin first. Not to frighten you, but to tap your ribs awake. This hush is needed now. You don't fight the flame. You hold space for warmth to stand where fear wants only ash. Your breath does more than steady you. It teaches others how to root their own calm when the map glows red. It can feel heavy. Some nights you'll wonder why your shoulders ache when you haven't lifted a thing all day. That's the weight of quiet promise. The hush your breath agreed to carry when storms test walls that stand softer because your hush holds them from inside. If you doubt your hush matters, watch how people linger near your calm when they feel the ground hum too loud to bear alone. You are not here to stop the storm. You're here to prove it ends where your hush begins. Tiny daily rituals that hold the grid. People ask what big acts fix a cracked earth grid. Older hush laughs gently. The real repair hums in tiny daily steps that don't look grand enough for headlines. A slow cup of tea when the sky roars. A careful sweeping of the porch while the news warns of winds. A soft word to a neighbour who needs a nod more than a lecture. These rituals are not superstition. They're signal lines your hush writes into the ground beneath your feet. Each small kindness hums wider than any flame can spread. Each slow sigh reminds the soil you stand ready to carry warmth where noise tries to plant only fear. A candle at dusk. A prayer whispered while folding clothes. A single hand rested on your own chest when panic knocks on your ribs. This is how elders keep the hush awake. Not with noise, but with actions so soft the earth listens closer than any storm ever could. Some think rituals must be perfect. They're not. They're honest. A cracked voice singing an old song. A gentle pat on the table that once carried generations' worries. These little moves stitch the broken grid tighter than grand gestures ever could. Next time you wonder if your small daily acts matter, feel the floor under your bare feet. That warmth humming up your spine. It's your hush telling the earth grid. We stand calm here. We stand warm. We stand unburned. Closing reminder, hush outlives fire. When the firestorm fades and maps stop pulsing red, what remains is not the roar. It's the hush that holds the soil ready for the first green shoots. Elders know this truth deep in the spine. Storms burn bright, but hush breathes longer. Your calm today writes tomorrow's ground where panic can't take root again. Flames clear what fear stored too long. Plasma twisters sweep what stale breath forgot to clear alone. But only your hush builds back what the roar can't reach. This is why your daily exhale hums louder than any volcano when the world quiets enough to listen. Maybe you don't feel like a keeper of any grand hush. Maybe your days feel small. Look closer. Your breath stands guard where no headline will ever thank you. Your warmth in a cracked room, your hand on an old doorframe, your tiny forgiveness spoken under your breath. These are the real roots storms can't burn. One day, someone younger will ask how you stayed soft when the world tried to harden every rib in its path. You'll answer without a speech, just a small smile that says, "I trusted my hush more than the roar." When you rest tonight, know this truth. The firestorm does not outlast your breath. It clears the field so your hush can plant what tomorrow's calm will bloom.